Hi everyone, my name is Astrid. People call me Madam AO. I am currently here at UW playing tennis and learning and growing every single day. I really love food. I really love dancing. I really love music. And I love my friends. I love my family. I love learning new things and talking about things that you otherwise wouldn't talk about. And I'm really glad that I could join my friend here today on this podcast, and let's get into it.
I don't know. Okay. All right.
It's okay too, no? Talk with your hands?
Yeah, you can talk with your hands. But so, yes, tell me about yesterday.
Yesterday was really, really cool. So we played UCLA on Friday, and then we played USC on Sunday, and we wrecked them. No, I'm just playing, but not. But no, we had like such a good time, and our culture on our team is super, super strong, and we just fought on every court, and yeah, we got the dub. It was actually crazy in my match. I was down 5-3, 40 love in the third set. If you know tennis, that's like a really bad situation to be in. But then I managed to turn it around. I saved like 7 match points, had an epic like win in the end, and it was just amazing. I
keep seeing on the UW Instagram, you're like, you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Where you're like, where is that? In like a room or something?
Yeah, it's like a media room. They make us do like some stuff, and they keep replaying that one. I'm just like, okay, I'll just repost it again.
You're like, yeah. No, but congrats to that. That's awesome.
Thank you.
I'm just, as we've been talking throughout, since we met, but thinking about like now you're in your season, like it's your time, but it's kind of dual season. Like you're in your season right now personally with things, but then also in your season in your sport, you know, and it's just really cool. I'm really happy for you in that way.
Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome. So, Astrid, you are somebody who, I told you this before, but you have a fierceness to you. You carry a fierce presence. It's like, the first time we met, we actually had a class together.
That's right.
Only Black girls in the class, too.
Yep.
Tends to happen. But we had a class together, and I was like, she has a fierceness to her. And as I said to you before, sometimes our fierceness, it can come from naturally just like, here I am. Right. And sometimes fierceness can be birthed from resilience, where it's like, I've been backed into the corner and now I know how to navigate and move because of those experiences. And so I felt like your fierceness was the latter, but it was still a presence. And I admired that. And I think that in this conversation about transition, I'm sure that within your many transitions, that fierceness has been honed and birthed and cultivated. And so I applaud you for that, coming up and showing as you are. But I'm so excited to talk to you about where that comes from.
Right. Thank you.
No, for sure. You have, as we've also talked about before, are somebody who has inspired this podcast to a certain degree.
Right.
Podcast series, you know, what people are calling it. Because we had a conversation one day and we were talking and you said something about being an athlete and being a tennis player. And I'm like, no, you're more than a tennis player. And the way you had said that was like, it was in a tone to where it felt like this is something that's been enforced on me. It's something I'm proud of, but it's like really monumental, as if this is what people see me as infinitely. And when I said, no, you're more than an athlete, I had this light bulb moment, like ding.
Right.
But I'm curious to know really, why was that such an impressionable comment when I said that? Because I remember your response was like, yo, thank you. Do you remember this?
Yeah, I remember that. I think because at that time I was not in like the greatest place with the sport. I was like going through an injury and things were rough. Like people know how it is to get injured. It's not good. It's not fun. And I just felt like me as a person has always like been defined like by what I do in my sport, like how well I do, like what's my next move and this and, you know, I just felt like I just wanted to be me, you know.
Yeah.
I just wanted to be who I was and like not how everybody sees me, because people see me on court, you know, like playing, thriving, screaming, you know, doing my thing, which is great. But then what they see is not always like what represents me as like who I am. There's layers to that.
Come on. Yeah. Seeing your reaction and thinking about just places I've been in my life for someone like myself who's not an athlete,
Right.
but thinking about how do we define ourselves beyond what we do, and what we do not being the totality of who we are, you know? And we've had conversations before about like being women in spaces and trying to imagining always having to show up, and your ability of showing up being attached to physical.
Yeah.
And for me, in the industry that I'm in and further desire to be in media, a lot of it's based upon your appearance.
Yeah.
And your mental.
Yeah.
And so it's like in the midst of all life's transitions, like yourself during that time with the injury, having to always bet on that being a thing and what people know you for being attached to that can be tricky and stressful.
Yeah.
You know, I'm curious, you have such a unique experience, someone coming from not just like outside of Washington, but outside of the U.S.
Yeah. Yeah.
Born and raised in Norway.
That's correct.
Tell me about your upbringing in Norway and what life was like there.
Yeah, I will tell you. Life there was very different than what it is here. But starting off like with my childhood, I just remember like the simple moments with my siblings, my two brothers. Shout out, I love them, I miss them. I just remember like playing around, just like enjoying the nature and making fun of my brothers, and just like everything was so simple, like no worries and everything. But then when you start to grow up, you start to learn more things, you start to like be aware of the world and like futures and like where you want to be. And I feel like when you're like maybe from like 0 to 10, that's when you're really like, I don't know, just like enlightened in a way. Like everything's so simple, you're just enjoying, and like, okay, maybe you're crying, but then you forget and then you move on. But then I feel like when you grow up, like things just stay with you longer, and like your mind thinks about things when you don't want your mind to think about things. You're not present. But yeah, growing up, a blast. Coming here, also a blast in its own way.
Yeah, no, I love that. Innocence is a gift.
Yeah.
And it's like preserving the innocence of a child, and your childlike spirit is super important.
Yeah.
And yeah, there are things that come up that become priorities, and we have to evaluate what really is a priority. Like, were there any things and transitions in your upbringing that led you to become aware of how to balance and adjust to change?
Right. Yeah, I think like I didn't really have the typical upbringing. Like, yes, I'm Norwegian, but my mom, she's an immigrant. She came from Kenya when she was like very young, 22. And like she had to find her place in a completely different country, like alone. And just that, and like her strength, I think somehow was transferred to me a little bit, because I've done similar things to her, but not in like the same rough sense. But I think that also being a tennis player, I've had to like travel so much. And just I've literally been to every continent in the world to play tennis. Yeah, so I've always been on the move. I've always like seen new cultures and like adapted and figured out ways like, how can I like best communicate with these people? They don't really speak English, but like maybe I can learn some words. Like, what do they eat here? I don't want to eat that, you know, like my stomach hurts. So just like different things that I've had to like always adjust to prior to I came here to the US.
And so it sounds like I'm thinking of yourself roughly in the past 3-4 years, but with simply the sport of tennis, it's it has like a independent, similar, it kind of reminds me of golf in the way of like, yes, there's like a team mentality, but there's an emphasis on yourself as a player.
Yeah.
You know, and so prior to this, like, how did tennis even become a part of your life? Do you remember falling in love with tennis?
Yeah.
Because like, did your family play, or is just like?
No, my parents are not athletes at all. Actually, it's really funny. But my mother, she was always like, "So I want you to succeed. I didn't come here from a completely different continent for you to just like, you know, throw away your life." Basically, that kind of like upbringing, which I really appreciate, because like, it made me really driven. And she was like, okay, either you're gonna be a doctor, a lawyer, or an athlete. I was like, okay, mom, like, cool. No, but that's not really how it started. But I just remember like being younger and just hanging out at the courts. My big brother, he used to play, and I would always like, you know, come with my mom and like just hang out and pick him up and go back. And then until I eventually started myself, I would just go like once a week, twice a week, and then just, I was not even trying. I was just, oh, this is fun, hitting a ball, like being out to the wall, okay, whatever. Like, it was just the vibe for me in the beginning. But then I actually started to get into it, like, not like competitively, but more of like just like learning the skills and just learning out like, how can I hit the shot, like how do I open the court, how do I do certain things on the court. That idea really like intrigued me. And I played a lot of sports too growing up, like soccer, as you call it here, and
as you call it here.
Yeah, it's called football, like, come on. Yeah, and handball, it's like a different sport you don't have here, I think, either.
I've seen it, but it's not popular. Yeah.
I did some skiing, I still play piano. But yeah, when I was like 12, I had to make a choice, like, what do I want to do? And then just
12.
Yeah, 12.
It's like ultimatum.
Yeah, no, because I had to like go into high school and figure out like where to go after school and stuff, like just practical things. So then I chose tennis. I was like, okay, I'm pretty good at this. I like the idea of just like being alone on the court, like it's me versus you, you know. If I mess up, it's on me, it's not on my teammates.